The mindset that you have, just as much, if not more, is a very dangerous mindset.
My mindset?
Yeah.
Of which?
Why Miami first? Like, when you originally started, why'd you come here?
I traveled here.
Why women? Why not men?
So I chose to work with women because
What do you see as like the perfect relationship for a girl?
for me, my ideal relationship because
Do you think women are naturally bad with money? Where do you find most of your clients? Are they mainly in the States? Or are they mainly like in Canada?
they're across.
What are the biggest money myths?
What are the biggest money myths?
What is up, guys? Welcome to Team Basani here. Today I have Gina Judge. We've been following each other for a long time, Gina. We've connected on social media. We had millions of conversations, but now you're finally here. And it's funny because you lived in Miami and you come here periodically.
Yes.
So now you're back.
Yeah.
First thing I want to start off with is, do you like Miami? Is it like kind of your thing? Or
I love Miami. So I'm from Vancouver, BC, and I would consider myself a bird. Every time it gets really cold, snowy, just miserable weather in Vancouver, I come to Miami. I've been doing this probably for like 4 to 5 years now. So I'll come from December to April-ish, and it's the best decision I ever made.
Why Miami first? Like, when you originally started, why'd you come here?
I traveled here for fun because I had a girlfriend that lived out here. Interestingly enough, she made finance content as well. So we connected online and she said, hey, come to Miami. I'll show you around. And ever since I made that one trip, there's just something about the city that lit me up.
Do you think that Miami is like a finance hub? Like people care a lot about money. So we'll get
Yes.
into your money talk in a bit here.
Yeah.
But is it a city that's focused on money? Is it focused on real estate? What do you think it's focused on?
It's a melting pot of people. So I would say whether you're into health and wellness, real estate, fitness, money, tech, there's a little bit of something for everyone, which is really nice because usually like if you move to a city, like for example, when I look at Vancouver, I wouldn't say it's a melting pot of people. I feel like every time I come out here, I network with so many like-minded individuals across different sectors and industries.
So I have you here now, and you have a lot of women that want access to you.
Yeah.
So I really want to dive into your money talk, which is you do a lot of things in terms of coaching women to become better in money, and you work exclusively with women.
I do.
So obvious question, why women? Why not men?
So I chose to work with women because growing up, I had a really difficult relationship with money. I was raised by a really strong single mom, child of an immigrant. My mom came to Canada with barely anything. Dad wasn't in the picture. He, if anything, was an alcoholic. And I saw my mom really struggling growing up. And I remember she'd be working 3 jobs at a time to be able to provide us with the absolute basics. And I had very much had a scarcity relationship with money where I thought one day we could lose it all. Eventually, my mom remarried, but my stepfather was very abusive. And for me, I really struggled financially because when I was 18, I ended up homeless. And being a woman of South Asian descent, it's very rare to see women leave their house prior to getting married. So a lot of what I do today with money coaching and helping women get ahead financially is because when I was struggling, I had no one in my corner to help me. I always say I've made every single money mistake in the book, which is why there's no judgment. But at the same time, I'm a big believer that financially independent women are powerful women. So regardless of your background, who your dad is, who your husband is, I'm a big believer that women need to understand how money works because it opens up options and doors. Like it allows you to leave any environment that doesn't serve you. May that be a toxic job environment, relationship, home environment. So for me, a lot of what I do today is deep rooted in how I was raised and just struggling, generally speaking, as a teenager, young adult. And now I'm thriving. So I'm a big believer that financial literacy is a cornerstone to any woman's success.
So I'm going to have a lot of fun with this podcast. There's a lot to talk about because I talk a lot about women and money and their relationship with money. And there are so many different schools of thoughts that are employed when it comes to women and money. Like, okay, you should not be working. You should not be doing anything. And there's others like be an independent woman. I don't need a man. Where do you kind of sit on the fence? And I know it's a very healthy take because I've heard a lot of your content, but I want to kind of challenge you. Like, do you think women should make their own money almost exclusively and not rely on a man? And when it comes to relying on a man, like, can you explain the dynamic that women should have with money?
Yes. So for me, I'm a big believer that women should always have a skill set that they can fall back on when it comes to generating income. They should always have their own savings and investments. There's nothing wrong with relying on a man to be a provider in your life, and that can come in different shapes or forms. For myself, I've always envisioned myself being with a man that can provide for me. But at the end of the day, again, you just don't know what life has in store for you. I think it's important when you look at a relationship as a partnership. So for example, if one day something happened to my man where, God forbid, he had cancer, he ended up disabled, would I be able to take care of the empire? Like, would I be able to step in and continue generating income, continue managing the money if, God forbid, something happened to him? On the other side of things, and I know you talk about this a lot, infidelity is a huge thing in our generation. And there's so many women that stay in abusive relationships where maybe they're being taken advantage of or their partner's disrespecting them because they're stuck financially. So for me, I believe that women need to understand how money works. They need to have the means to make their own money in case the worst case scenario happens.
I think that you're 100% on it. I think that a lot of women, I always advise women to become financially stable. And it doesn't mean that you need to become ultra rich.
Yeah.
But because I think that when it comes to selecting partners, men don't necessarily look at, oh my God, she makes a lot of money, she's successful. Wow, like this girl's great. They look more so superficially at how you're presented, your characteristics, the way your energy is. Women, on the other hand, a lot of times, I say 50 to 60% of the selection process is a man's success.
Yes.
And it sounds very bad. It sounds very backwards, but it's a truth because women are still in the mindset, impregnated in the mindset of a man should pay for everything. Now, here's my thing, okay? Let's say we have a girl. She's a great girl and she has a guy over here and he's like, I want to take care of you. I want to pay for everything. You don't have to work anymore. What would you give her as advice?
So he's basically telling her that she needs to stop. She can stop working. He wants to take care of her,
Theoretically,
right?
he wants her to stop working. Let's say like, I want you to stop working.
Okay. I would basically ask her, like, does that align with your values and who you see yourself being like 5 or 10 years down the road? Because some women are very ambitious. Maybe she wants to launch a business or she sees herself progressing professionally. And now this man's coming into her life and saying, hey, babe, you don't need to work. I would say in that case, no, like you can continue working your job or doing whatever the case may be. But if this is someone that does want to be taken care of, because let's be real, there are a lot of women that want to be provided for. They want to be stay-at-home moms. If there's alignment there, then go ahead. But again, make sure you have something of your own to fall back on. So maybe that's a small side hustle or passion project that you do from home as a stay-at-home mom or whatever the case may be. Maybe you start day trading on the side or you have your own investment portfolio that you're continuing to maintain. I think it's really important that women just don't become, how do I say this? Like it would suck because I've seen this a lot where women just stop everything. So they don't work, they don't have an investment portfolio, they don't have fallback cash. And then what happens is there's been cases where like their husbands have passed away and now they're really insecure. Like they don't know what bank accounts they have as a couple. They don't know how to log into them. That gives them a lot of anxiety. They can't go back into the workforce because they've been out of a job for like a decade. So again, I would say the emphasis is on making sure that you just always have something there.
So here's my thing. A lot of women employ the mindset of codependency when it comes to men. Like we still have the dynamic that women should rely on men. And I'll tell you my take and I want to hear your opinion on it. So I always say women should have their money saved up because it's not even that. It's having money saved up is the first barrier. Like let's say you date a girl and she has money saved up and then God forbid the situation, the guy cheats on her, right? Mm-hmm. Then she has to obviously leave the relationship. And in a clear-headed mind, if things are not working, whatever it may be, she leaves. But the most dangerous thing is being out of rhythm for work, being out of rhythm to make money because you have savings, but you can burn through them. A lot of people can burn through them in a year to 2 years.
Or less, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think that girls should be working for a period of time.
Yeah.
Like while they're still with the man. Yeah. And this is where we get into like a lot of controversy because a lot of women are like, why would I be with that man if I still have to work, if I still have to provide, if I still have to do all this stuff? And I think that in today's society, we're entering a new dynamic of like, there's a provider relationship or there's a 50-50 relationship. Mm-hmm. You said before that you wanted a provider relationship. I guess I want to hear your take on it. What do you see as like the perfect relationship for a girl?
So this is really going to vary from woman to woman.
Yes.
I can use myself as an example.
I want you to use yourself.
Okay. So for me, my ideal relationship, because I love my business. Like I don't operate my business because I need it to pay my bills. I operate it because I look at it as a legacy project. Like it fuels me, right? So for me, in an ideal relationship, I would want to be with a man who, one, is either in the same tax bracket as me or higher, because I'd want to be with a partner that can elevate me. That's really important to me. Two, I would want the man to, yes, take care of all the bills so that everything I make is mine and I can choose to do what I want with that money, whether it's spoiling myself, investing in my health and wellness, investing period, purchasing assets. Like that's what I would want financially for myself. And then ideally I'd want to be with a partner where I could even build something with them one day, because I'm very like legacy oriented. And beyond that, I think that emotional intelligence is so important. Like you can be with a man that provides for you, but is he there for you emotionally? How does he show up on your bad days? Can you have an argument with him and not have it turn into something so toxic and explosive where you're left with trauma after the relationship or after the argument? So I think that for me, it's yes, financially, do I want a partner that is sound and stable and able to elevate me? Yes. But there's so much more than that. And I would say emotional intelligence is really important in a partnership. It's also really important to be with someone that has similar values as you and aligns with you in those areas.
Yeah, I think that here's where I want to elaborate on this, right? So you want a guy that makes just as much money as you, if not more.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a high tax bracket considering you.
Yeah.
Number two, I think a lot of women have that same mindset, but a lot of women fail to find the guy that they want because that is not necessarily available. So the biggest problem I have with women when it comes to coaching and dating, right?
Yeah.
It's just that there's not enough men.
Yeah.
And all the women go for the same type of man. So if you look at the data when it comes to dating, and this is all from the anonymous data of dating apps, you have 96% of men that are not swiped on. Women swipe right on 4% of men. Men swipe right on 81% of women.
That's crazy.
So here's how it goes. 96% of men are considered the undesirable. 19% of women are considered the undesirable. So effectively, almost 9 out of 10 men are not good. And effectively, 2 out of 10 women are not good. Then the 96% of men are chasing the 81% of women. Okay? The 19% of women and the 81% of women are chasing the 4% of men.
Right.
So I guess what would you have as advice? Like, because I love the advice and I like telling women you should be with the man that takes care of things. Like it would be a dream, right? If a girl could be with a guy that literally takes care of everything, he bankrolls her life, that would be great. But it's very unrealistic for a lot of women.
Yeah.
And ironically, the more stable you are as a woman, the harder it is to find a partner.
For sure.
And a lot of men actually don't, it's not that they don't like dating women that are financially stable. It's just that it's not always their first choice.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like, oh, I want to meet a girl that doesn't have any money. But I think a lot of men feel more empowered when they meet a girl and it's like, oh, you've never had a ride in this car before, or you've never been to this restaurant because you've never been able to afford it for yourself or been able to do it for yourself. I can do that for you.
Right.
And so I guess if you were to give dating advice for a girl in terms of money and like what kind of man she should look for financially.
Yeah.
I actually advise girls not to go for ultra rich guys.
Yeah.
It's because they have a higher rate of infidelity.
Yeah. I agree.
They're more likely to leverage you.
Yeah.
They're business people in general. And effectively, they have an infinite amount of options.
Totally.
So I want to hear your take on advice for women. I know you're not necessarily in this field, but I want to hear your perspective and thoughts. If you had a girl here that wanted to date, what would you give her as advice?
I would say, and this is like even from my own past relationship experience, and you're right, like finding a man that is extremely wealthy, has a good head on his shoulders, doesn't, turn his head when he sees other women, it's an anomaly for sure. So what I would say to women is if you're struggling to find that provider man, then look for those characteristics in a man or traits in a man where it's like he's very ambitious. Maybe he's not a millionaire yet, but you can see that the drive is there, that he wants to pick up on high income earning skill sets. Like he's doing everything in his power today to become that person. Because another mistake that a lot of women make is they will date because they see potential in a man.
Yes.
But it doesn't necessarily mean that that man sees that potential in himself. So I would say find someone where you can see that they do have those traits. They might not be a millionaire today, but maybe they're on that trajectory to be a millionaire. And in addition to this, I was even at crossroads at one point where I was like, okay, maybe I have to kind of go back to the drawing board about what is really important to me. And I got to a point where I was like, okay, maybe one day I end up with a man that makes slightly less than me, but if he has all the other boxes marked where he is emotionally intelligent, I can trust him, because that's a huge thing too. I'm like, I would consider giving that guy a shot.
Okay, next question. You kind of hit on it, but like a little bit. Would you ever invest in a man, and have you ever invested in a man?
I would never invest in a man again. So to answer your question, yes, I have invested in a man in the past. And I would say it was I definitely regretted it. I definitely regretted it because I feel like it put me in my masculine. It definitely put me in my masculine, and it also caused a lot of grief in the relationship because the roles kind of reversed and there was resentment on my end.
In that situation, what was the reason that you invested in him?
I saw potential. So I saw potential in him. I feel that as women, we're very emotionally charged. So if we see someone in our life that might be struggling financially, maybe there's something that's going on with their business, you've seen them do well in the past, sometimes we make decisions from an emotional place. And one of the biggest lessons I learned in that case is like, again, you can see so much potential in someone, but if they're not actively doing things every day to show you that they are progressing forward down that trajectory, then you need to do yourself a service and kind of walk away.
You wanted more than him. You wanted more.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Now, let me ask you this. Okay, so women are very emotionally charged, right?
Yeah.
Do you think women are naturally bad with money?
I don't think women are naturally bad with money. I think that women are actually very anxious and avoidant with their money at times. But when they have the financial literacy and financial acumen to make decisions, they can actually make better decisions than men.
I have a lot of I don't want to say women are bad with money, but the data shows that. Like and I think it's social norms too.
Yeah.
Like there's not a lot of education on how you should spend your money. There's no class that you take in high school where it's like, hey, like when you get a credit card when you're older, is what you do. So credit card debt in women, okay?
Yeah.
I know you talk about this a lot, okay? Can you tell me why women have the majority of credit card debt and what their issue is?
So I would say if we look at our generation today, you look at social media, you look at all of these beauty-backed businesses, there's so much pressure on women to look a certain way, whether it's makeup, skincare, branded clothing. And yes, men have those same pressures, but the cosmetic industry as a whole makes so much money off of what? Women's insecurities.
Yes.
So yes, women in general are, the average Canadian, for example, because I'm Canadian, carries an $8,000 credit card balance, whether it's a man or female. But the point being is I think that there's so much pressure on women. And because they also don't have financial literacy, again, because it's not taught in school, and many of us don't have parents that know how to make sound financial decisions, they do end up in credit card debt. But because I've worked with thousands of women, I also have seen the opposite side of it, where when they have the financial acumen and they become debt-free and they have the skill set where they learn how to save and invest, their money grows. And once that confidence is there, it's life-changing.
What is the biggest threat to women when it comes to like financially?
They are scared to invest. They have a scarcity mindset. They think they're going to lose everything.
You know what's funny? Obviously, I run a group where I give out my investments, my trades, and everything like that.
Yeah.
We do 500 to 1,000% a year. Like this has been, we've done it for 10 years, okay?
Yeah.
In terms of all of our investments. It's higher risk, right?
Yeah.
The large majority of my group is men.
Okay.
And men are a lot more, I don't even know if it's that men are less likely, or less scared. I think that men want the money more.
They do.
I think they're more willing to take risk because there's more of a pressure on men to become financially successful.
Yeah.
It's like, you're a brokey. Like nobody goes to a girl and is like, oh, she's a brokey. Like I don't, like it's not like an insult you throw at women or like,
Exactly.
what kind of car does she drive? It doesn't matter if the bumper is hanging off. It matters what she looks like when she's coming off, you know? So I find it very interesting. Women are very anxious when it comes to trading.
Yeah.
When something is down, and I've had women in my group, they're like, this is down today.
Yeah.
What's happening? Like, what do we do? I think I'm doing something wrong. You know what I mean? And it's like, how do you fix that? How do you solve it? What's your approach with it? Because a woman that's scared of money, like what's your direction with it?
So a lot of the work that I do is I start with the money mindset, because if someone's really anxious or avoidant with money, it really comes down to how you learned about money growing up. So oftentimes when I work with my clients, I say your relationship with money actually formed as early as the age of 7. So I want you to take yourself back into that 7-year-old body. When bills were arriving at the house, how were mom and dad interacting? Did they have like a stern look on their face? Were like hands going up in the air? Were they arguing in the kitchen? Because your relationship with money forms as early as the age of 7. And then what I want them to think about is, how often do you actually open up your credit card statement and look at the damage you've done?
Nobody
in the
does
last
that.
month?
Yeah. That's the first thing I do with a lot of girls when I work with them, or anybody that is, hey, I just don't have money. I'm like, send me your last 3 months of your bank statement.
And let me find that money, because you spent it probably on food. Let's be real.
Starbucks, random stuff. And it's crazy. What do you think is like the biggest thing that people spend their money on? Women, I guess, that...
It's actually across the board is food, regardless of age. I would say 90% of people overspend on food because we consume food in so many different settings. Beyond that, it's usually clothing or cosmetics or skincare.
With men, I find it a lot to be the expensive car payment.
Okay, yeah.
I find a lot of men have, women too, surprisingly. Like I know women that have like $1,000 car payment, and it's not even always their fault. Sometimes they go in and they get approved for something.
Yeah.
And I know like young girls are not making that kind of money. They're 21 years old and they have like a $700, $800 car payment and they're not making the kind of money. I'm like, How did you get this
Yes.
with like an insane APR? It's like,
and they're stuck with that for years. Like that's a transaction that's going to put you behind in life for X amount of years.
yeah, 100%. What would you say is like, if you have a girl that's just starting to make a lot of money, she's like, hey, I'm going to get a job.
Yeah.
What are the basic things that you should employ? I know there's probably a lot, but
Yeah, I would say the first thing that everyone needs to do beyond the mindset, which we talked about earlier, is understanding your cash flow. So when I sit down with my clients, I take a look at how much income they're making, what are their fixed expenses looking like, what are their variable expenses look like. Variable spending is something that people don't really take into consideration when they build a budget. So oftentimes they'll think about, okay, my rent is this much, my gas is this much, my insurance is this much. But realistically, when I work with my clients, I'm like, let's take a look at where your money is going throughout the year. How much are you planning on spending on travel in 2020? How much are you going to be spending on gifts? Because again, with women, we can be very giving in nature. And sometimes I've worked with couples or clients where they're spending like $6,000 a year on gifts and they don't realize it. And then when I work with them, I'm like, hey, how much are we spending on skincare? How much do you spend on your Sephora hauls? Like we really get into the nitty gritty. And once everything's built from scratch, where we've taken a look at their income and their expenses, the number at the bottom ideally is a surplus. And then I'm like, that's what you're going to invest every month. Because now we've reverse engineered your goals. We've taken a look at what are you trying to save for? How much does your spending look like on a monthly and annual basis? And what's left over at the end of the month when you take everything into consideration? And that's going to look different from person to person, but the idea and the goal is to be able to at least invest 20 to 25% of your income monthly.
that's fire. Yeah. No, what do you think are the best skills that women can pick up to kind of create money? Because for men can just go into labor.
Yeah.
Like I can just go get a construction job.
Yeah.
Go bar back here.
Yeah.
Go drive Uber. Like there's a lot of jobs, like, and a girl can drive Uber too. It's not like she can't, but there's more risk with it.
Yeah.
So what are certain jobs that you would recommend, or certain skill sets that you would recommend for women to pick up to make money?
I would say anything that's service oriented. So for me, when I worked within the walls of a bank, I decided to start my podcast. And then from there, I started my consulting company. So the first thing that I recommend women doing is, one, what is something that you're really good at that people naturally ask you for advice? Like if there is something that people are constantly coming to you for me, it was finance advice. Like people would constantly pick my brain about mortgages, credit, investing. So then I was like, why don't I turn this into a business model? So generally speaking, if you have a certain skill set where people are already picking your brain, start there. If not, look at different services that you can offer. So, the cosmetics industry, aesthetics, nails, lashes. Like sometimes people think that makeup and hair is oversaturated, but I don't believe in oversaturated industries because there's so many makeup artists that started last year that are killing it in comparison to the makeup artist that's been doing that job for like 3 years or 4 years. So I think the service-based industry is a great place to start. Otherwise, like there's so many courses you can take now when it comes to like e-commerce or things you can do from home, but do something that you feel like is actually going to light a fire in you, because if you're not genuinely passionate about it, you're likely not going to do a good job at it.
Where are the deal breakers for you when it comes to clients? Like if I were to bring, hey, Sarah Smith, I have her here.
Yeah.
What is something that you would say, I can't work with her?
I would say one, when they're not working at all.
Okay.
Right? Or sometimes even that, like let's say they're not working, but then they're sitting on like $300,000. I could still teach them how to invest. But what I would say is if they're not working, if they're just kind of like wishy-washy, like for me, I like working with clients that soak everything up that I teach them like a sponge, and then they apply it right away to their life.
They're coachable.
Yeah, right? Exactly. You need to be coachable. Like you need to be hungry for it. Sometimes I'll work with people where I'm like, I'm more hungry for change in your life than you are. That's not going to work. But generally speaking, just someone that wants to do better and is willing to apply the advice that I give them.
Where do you find most of your clients?
Online on Instagram.
Are they mainly in the States? Or are they mainly like in Canada?
They're across North America. So a lot of clients in Canada, a lot of clients recently across the United States. And then I also have some in the UK as well.
Is it typically, so I guess I want to dive deeper in the demographic. Is it typically like very young women?
Yeah.
Is it ultra wealthy? Like where is it kind of mixed?
It's across the board. So I target millennial women between the ages of 25 and 40. Sometimes I'll have women that are slightly younger, slightly older. A lot of entrepreneurs across different industries like lawyers, doctors, dentists. I have a lot of self-employed clients. I would say over the last year, that area of my business has grown quite a bit, but mainly between the ages of 25 and 40. And they can kind of fit into any profession per se, but anyone that really wants to learn how to invest and make their money grow.
Okay. And I guess like kind of diving deeper into your coaching, what are the best like money hacks that you have that are just not publicly known?
I would say the first one is, it's kind of a myth where people think that they need to have a lump sum of money to start investing. But I would say starting sooner than later, even with $50 to $100 a week, the best decision you can make financially for yourself as a woman is to start investing sooner than later, even if it's $50 a week that you're doing, because that consistency and building that financial discipline is going to compound over time. So starting sooner than later when it comes to investing. The second piece of advice that I would give is it's so important to invest in high income earning skills. Or conversely, if you have a professional job, not enough women negotiate raises or even ask for raises.
Yeah,
right?
that is a big, so there's a whole data set and study on this of like why women are not promoted in jobs. It's literally because they don't ask.
They don't ask, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't ask, you're never going to receive, right? So again, it comes down to the fact that women, generally speaking, aren't as confident, whereas men are typically like go-getters. So I even teach women how to become more confident. And the crazy part is when I work with my clients, and sometimes they're kind of like, you look at their body language, they're kind of like shriveling up in the chair initially. But then when you build that financial confidence in them, by the end of it, I call it a glow up. They're so confident, they're making eye contact, they're so secure in themselves. And by the end of it, they're asking me like, hey, I want to invest in this ETF because it's like really well diversified and over 8,000 stocks. Do you think it makes sense? And I'm like, yeah, it makes sense because you were able to break down why, right? So I would say negotiating raises or investing in high income earning skills, investing early on. And then beyond that, I would say also just pouring back into yourself. Like a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to start traveling when I retire, when I'm 60 or 65. No, actually, you should be living your best life now. Like, yes, live in the now where when you're working, you're putting aside 20 to 25% of your paycheck, but also make sure that you're taking your money and investing it into yourself, into things that make you look or feel good. And that's going to look different from person to person. But for me, like I travel to Miami as a Canadian, like to be fully transparent, the exchange rate sucks because the Canadian dollar is down. I probably blow like 30 to 40K just in the small time frame that I'm here. But while I'm here, I 3x my income. I end up in the best shape of my life. And I get so clear when it comes to my goals. So I see that as an investment into myself.
Do you think that women should work just as hard as men?
I don't think that women should work just as hard as men. And I think that as women, we're obviously built differently. So something that I've been looking into more is how our cycles, like our periods or menstrual cycle, affects us. So the way that it works is for women, there's like 1 week in the month where we have so much energy. And I think that as an entrepreneur, something I've been trying to teach my clients is you should be very strategic in how you map out your client calls, how you map out any like specific individual that you're trying to network with. And because of our cycles, like there's a certain week in the month where you just slow down. You literally physically cannot work. And for that reason, we can't be compared to men. But I think that women should be very strategic about how they schedule certain projects, goals, and essentially how they like work, period.
I want to circle back to something that you said earlier, like where you don't need a lot of money to invest in or to start.
Yeah.
You know, like $50, $100. I love that because my mindset when I tell people to invest is like, it's kind of sounds bad. Like I'm like, invest the money that you're okay with losing.
Yeah.
And ideally you're not okay with losing anything.
Yeah.
But if I tell people like, if I were to take $10 from you right now,
yeah,
like, would it ruin your day? Like, absolutely just destroy you in every single way. Like, it'd probably be an inconvenience, but it, like, for person to person, it would be a thing. If someone took $100 from you, it'd be like, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
But if it's like a man that sucks and it's not like, oh my God, my life is over, then it's like, you should invest $100.
Exactly.
And so I think it's like a very healthy mindset. But what I find with a lot of women is like, women are just scared to lose anything. Mm-hmm. And what I'm trying to more understand is how do you get them to be okay with investing? I think ETFs are more... 90% of my investment portfolio with trading is in like an aggregation of stocks. It's effectively my own ETF, right? That I pick and choose and mix and match, right?
Yeah.
An ETF is nothing but a collection of stocks, an aggregation that's picked and tailored and swapped out as needed. So I do the same thing, right? And they're big tech companies or big companies in general. They're not necessarily as aggressive and volatile.
Yeah. 10%
of it is trading. 10% of it is a high level, high risk, like the highest risk theoretically is trading, right? Options trading. But women don't even want to invest $1 sometimes, even in the ETF, because like, what if it goes down? What do you kind of approach them with? Or do you have a lot of like pushback with that?
Sometimes I see that on Instagram where they're like, I'm scared to lose money. Then I'm like, okay, if you had the financial education and you actually learned how to do this and you got your feet wet, started with a small amount like 500, over time you would see that it works, because historically the stock market has recovered from every single major depression, recession, black swan event like COVID. And typically, like even when those events happen, like you look at the 2008 market crash, the stock market eventually hit a brand new high that it had never hit before. And same thing with COVID and all these other events that have taken place. So for me, I'm like, okay, well, if you don't start investing, what's the other option? You're going to work till you're 65. I used to travel to the UK a lot. The amount of 60-year-olds that you see as baristas at Starbucks, driving Ubers, is insane. And that what our generation needs to understand is we're headed down that same trajectory if we don't start making smart decisions today. And you can't save your way to millionaire status in this generation and this economy. You have to invest in assets that either go up in value or produce income. So either you do that or you're going to be that 65-year-old barista at Starbucks.
I want to talk more about so it's very interesting you brought it up.
Yeah.
There's a mindset that has been kind of pushed and a narrative that's been pushed. I think I'm not a conspiracy theorist. Like I'm not someone that says, oh, like this, that, and I don't really focus on that stuff, but I think that feminism was like a full conspiracy theory.
Okay.
Right. And I'll tell you why. Like first wave feminism was really good. Like women having access to this. My mom, was able to work, and that's why I was able to like go to school and stuff like that.
Right.
But there is almost the US more than any other country has more women working, making more money. And I think it was really to just double the GDP.
Yeah.
I genuinely believe that because we push this narrative of independent woman, boss babe, that kind of stuff. And it's wonderful for certain individuals. Like I think that the large majority of women should not be entrepreneurs. Same thing with men. The large majority of them should not be entrepreneurs. I love the 9 to 5, and it sounds really bad, but the 9 to 5 provides stability. It provides you clear access. And my actual formula for wealth is make money in a stable way, live below your means, and invest the difference.
Exactly.
That's
so
all
simple.
it is. Yeah. And the 9 to 5 provides that, because when you're in commission sales and when you're in entrepreneurship, which is effectively commission sales, just rebranded, it is inconsistent. Yeah. It is variable. It can go up and down. Yeah. You can have a 30K month. You can have a 5K month.
Totally.
You can have a month where you lose money, So I love that. But I want to hear your opinion on the whole boss babe, the independent babe movement, because what I find out more than with dating coaching, I have a client of mine. She's wonderful. And I use her example a lot. She makes $12 million a year.
Wow.
Baller, right? Yeah. She's put together. She's wonderful. She's mid-30s and she looks great. She's a very, very smart person, but she struggles with dating. And the boss babe independent mindset has failed her.
Okay.
And it's not even like, and originally it was like she wanted a guy that makes just as much money as her, if not more. And it was like, that's very hard to hit. It's a percentage game right there. And then number two, it's also this mindset has kind of made her so masculine.
So rigid, right?
And it's like a very fine line when you deal with women, because like I want women to be stable. I want you to be financially good. Like, when my mom worked after my father passed away, she became very masculine.
Yeah.
She became very scared and conservative with money. Like, every dollar has to be used carefully. She also mismanaged money as well.
Yeah.
There's certain things that she didn't manage properly. And so I guess like that mindset was like something that I think the government pushed.
Right.
And there was a narrative that was like kind of put out for women, like you need to make more money. You don't need a man. You can do whatever you want with your body. You can do this, that, and third.
Right.
And I'm like, it was very damaging to women, in my opinion. What do you think?
That's so interesting. No one's ever asked me that, and I've never like even fully paid attention to it. Maybe because like growing up in Canada, people would call me a boss babe, for example. And I guess because I haven't seen too much of it, what I can reference to is like, I feel like I was that person at one point where I was so in my masculine. I was like, I'm never going to find a man that like ticks off all these boxes, and like he has to make more money than me. He has to be taller than me. He has to be like X, Y, and Z because I'm this person. So he has to be like 10 times better than me. I think I did kind of have that at one point, and it's because social media had pushed that agenda.
You still employ those characteristics. Like when I look at your page, if I show your page to a girl, like, damn, this girl's a boss. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But over time, with life experience and having run my business for so long, having been single for a long time, I realized like that doesn't make sense. Like you're not going to find someone that's all of these things. So for me, what I did is I sat down and I said, like, what are the top 10 characteristics? Like what I actually, funny enough, a year ago, I wrote down in a journal entry, like all of the attributes I would want my husband to have.
What are they?
Oh my gosh,
Just
so vulnerable.
please share.
Let me think off the top of my head. So I was like, I want a husband that doesn't have eyes for other women. I want a husband that elevates me, who's my biggest fan. I want a husband that generates the same amount of income as me, if not more. I wanted a man of high integrity, someone that's honest, a family man. I wanted a partner that had emotional intelligence, that could kind of be my safe space, especially because I've dealt with like a lot of childhood trauma. And there's like a bunch of things that I wrote down. And then like recently, a couple months back, I met someone and I looked back at that checklist and I was like, wow, he ticks off like every single box. And it took me a really long time. But like, I think for women, sometimes we get really superficial. Like height should not be something that matters. Like if that man, there are men that are 6 feet tall that, no offense, are bitches. And then there's men that I met that are like 5'6" or 5'7", and they're truly in their masculine. So I think that for women, yes, that boss babe movement likely did create a narrative that women in their heads felt like maybe there was just like a certain criteria that needed. Maybe there's like even a persona that they feel like they have to keep pushing. But I think women are multidimensional. Like you can be a woman that is professional in business, but you can also be a woman that, you know, likes to own, how should I say this? Like you're multifaceted. Like if you're a professional woman, you don't have to be dressed up in a blazer 24/7 with a turtleneck. You know what I mean? Like you can still be taken seriously in business, but still showcase your style, whatever that may look like. And
it's hard for a woman to balance that.
Yeah.
That's the thing that so the whole boss babe narrative, let me go back a little bit in time.
I need to hear more about this.
So right around, I think it was like 2010, right? We had a large push towards the feminist movement, right? And this has been around since like the 1990s, right?
Yeah.
Like that kind of narrative. But it really was designed to destroy the nuclear family. And this is like, you do a little bit of research, like it was there. Because the nuclear family, the mindset was like, this is imprisoning women. It's very negative. The women has to do all the work, blah, 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 blah. And so as society modernized and as women did not have to do like the dishes by hand and stuff like that, like, you know, things change. Like I think like the biggest scam in today's society, and it sounds really bad, is a stay-at-home wife. Like a stay-at-home wife, you don't need a wife that stays at home 24/7. It is not realistic.
Yeah.
Back in the day, like you were drying clothes by hand and like hanging them up and this, that, and the third, and getting like fire and like putting it on the, you know, cooking. It's not the way things are anymore. Like you can really be efficient and knock out the household tasks within 2 hours. Now, kids are a whole different story, and that's like, I think both people should be involved. But 2010 was a big thing. There was also a sexual revolution that occurred with women.
Right.
Whereas like, you can sleep with whoever you want.
Right.
There are 41 types of contraception.
Right.
There are no consequences to being this person. And so women push also in the income and I'm just going to hook up and have fun and do whatever I want.
Right.
So I can make my own money like a man, and I can go hook up with guys.
Basically act like a man.
And it really went downhill 2015, I want to say, with like the slut walk. Okay. That was the main thing where men were really fighting to be high-level providers and very like there for virgin women. That was like a big characteristic of marriage. Like men would get access to virgin women, and like nowadays, like men don't really like care. Like that narrative has become so eroded. But that was the biggest thing. Like I will pay, I will work, I will do this because this is 100% my woman. Nobody else has her.
Right.
And so I don't know how all the intricacies happen because there's so many to track, but there was a push for women to become the boss babe.
Right.
And it really peaked, I would say, like 2017 to 2020. There was a massive push to like be the woman that doesn't need a man.
Right.
And I think it killed a lot of women in terms of their ability to become successful.
I actually agree with that, because with the whole slut walk, or like even women feeling like, okay, I can sleep with X amount of men. I think that, yeah, you're right. When it comes to the nuclear family, that really is something that's lost in our generation. I feel like people want it, but we're so lost in the sauce. Even when you look at like the rise of OnlyFans, for example, you're looking out the opposite side of things. I feel like a lot of men don't know how to go out into the real world and court women nowadays. And then on the opposite side, women, they are sleeping around with multiple men, and it's like
men don't want to date anymore.
Yeah.
Most men don't want to commit in relationships anymore.
Yeah.
And it's one, because part of it is the woman that they're talking to have been out here and done this, that, and third.
Right.
Men are very focused on the past.
Right.
And I think that also what the biggest thing that hits women is we live in a digital generation.
Yeah.
So everything that you do, you used to follow this person. I see your likes on this guy's
Right.
post. Literally photos and videos and this, that, and third. It's very bad. It's so incriminating for women.
Right.
Because that stuff really does exist out there.
It does. And it can really cause women to get very much in their head. And that's why I think it's so important that when you start dating someone, like for example, if you see a guy that's following a bunch of OnlyFans models, one, you would say that's a red flag, but then also turn around and ask him, be like, do you think this is appropriate? Why do you follow these accounts? I've had that situation in the past, actually, and I told him it made me feel really uncomfortable because...
And what was his reasoning for following them?
Oh, it was always some stupid excuse like, oh, I know these girls. Oh, really? You know all 50 of them. Interesting, right? And it's like, that's actually an underlying issue. Like there's something there. Either he has a sex addiction or whatever the case may be. But yeah, I would say that there's a lot of issues like that. And that makes dating so difficult in our generation. Because if you think about our parents, they didn't have these issues. Plus with the rise of social media, you have access to millions or billions of accounts. Whereas in our parents' generation, who do they really have? It was like, you could only date the people in your community because that was all you could see, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I think that like dating has become very difficult for women.
Yeah.
And the biggest clientele I struggle with the most when it comes to fulfilling their expectations are women.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is men don't know what they can get. They actually can get a lot more than what they believe they can.
Yeah.
And they're a lot more qualified because the average guy that makes, like if I had a guy that, he makes 150,000, a lot of women look at that like, that's fucking nothing. Like whatever. Like, especially like in Miami, like in this place, it's like whatever. And it's like, that's a lot of money, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Most of the millionaires I know are not necessarily like there's no jobs that make $1 million a year. Like there's no job you go online, like let me apply and make $1 million. It's you make 150, 200, even 80,000 for a period of like 5 to 7 years. You save your money up, you put money aside, you hit some good investments and you scale up. Yeah. That's really how it's done. And then you amount to a status of like, I have $1 million saved, $2 million saved. And then once you get to like, I guess 3 to 4, that's where you're really dangerous, where you like have interest at 10% working for you and killing you.
Yeah. And like to that point, what we were talking about earlier, it's like if you see that that man that's making 150K has those attributes and traits where he's actively investing and you can see he's doing good things with your money, which most people don't know because they don't ask finance related questions when they date. I think that's a...
Do you do that?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
When I date men and I teach my clients this too, I have podcast episodes on it. It's important to talk about finances. Maybe not on the first date, but if like by the third date, you really like this guy or girl, I think it's important to have money related conversations because behind infidelity, finances is the second leading cause of divorce in relationships, right? So I think, again, going back to that point where if women are struggling to date and maybe that guy isn't where he needs to be financially, is he making the decisions today where he could be that man, right?
When do you ask these questions and how do you go about it?
I would say by the third date, if this is someone where you're like, hey, I could see this person being my boyfriend or girlfriend. I would say before they become your boyfriend or girlfriend.
And what do you look for? Because there's certain like markers that you can detect.
Yeah, I would say... Okay, so usually people are very superficial. They'll say if a guy drives a nice car, he must have money. No, that vehicle could be financed. It could be leased. He could be drowning in a like $3,000 payment, right? That's not anything. Sometimes women will look for watches. Okay, fair. But typically, like when you ask them what they do for work, I'm not shy. I'll ask you, how much do you make? Right?
Really?
Yeah.
And you know, one of my pieces of dating advice is I never tell women how much I make.
Yeah?
Because...
Fair. I can see where you're going with this.
Because once a woman knows how much you make, she quantifies you in a certain bracket.
Okay.
I always think that in terms of attraction, there should always be some level of mystery.
Fair.
You know? And there's...
Okay. Well, even if you don't ask him how much he makes, what does he do for work? You can probably get a solid idea of how much money he's making or if he's doing well for himself.
Yeah.
And then secondary to this, hey, do you have any investments? Like, what are you investing in? Or, you know, what are you looking to do in 2026? Like, what are your financial goals? If he starts talking about, I have this real estate portfolio, or I love investing in stocks, or I day trade. Now you're going to get a better idea. Like, okay, this guy actually does invest.
Let me try to counter you, right? And I'm not...
I get it.
So what if a guy says, like, okay, so you ask, what are your investments? What are you investing in? Like, why does money matter?
Yeah. You're going to say, why does money matter?
Yeah.
Okay. I would say money matters to me because I was raised by a really strong single mom. And I want to make sure that if I end up with a man, like he's able to build something with me. You know, I invest. So if I'm investing in real estate and doing X, Y, and Z, I honestly want a partner that is also doing that or on the same trajectory.
You know what's funny? My last guest, Marvin Goodley, he's like your antithesis, right? And he's the other type of guy where he's like, date women that make money. Don't ever date broke women.
Yeah.
You know, he's a complete opposite. And he's like, have women pay and invest in you.
Yeah.
And I actually agree with him on one thing. Like any woman that has ever really loved me, the women that have loved me the most have always invested into me. Yeah. And it's not in the way of like, it's not in the way that you think. It's not like, there are situations where I was younger where I dated a girl that was like a lot of years older than me when I was younger, right? And she bought me my first bed. She bought me my like first couch. Like she did a lot for me when I was younger and she really, really loved me. Now she didn't have like a great personal life. She was an alcoholic. And while we were dating initially, she was on probation and then she got off probation, started drinking again, and the relationship kind of fell apart after that. But I really admired her for how much she invested into me, which wasn't necessarily like a lot of money looking back at it. But at the same time, for me, I had no money. She would help me out with rent sometimes and I would pay her back. It was really crazy.
Yeah.
So I always say one of the biggest indicators that a woman really likes you is if she pays for things for you.
Okay.
If she invests in you.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be a large amount.
Yeah.
It's not like a $10,000 loan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's like you go against that, And
I wouldn't say like I go against it. For example, like in a relationship, do I believe a man has to pay for like every single dinner, every single drink, every single whatever? No. Like there will be times where I'll grab the bill because,
the guy that you had previous relationship, whatever it was, right? You really loved him and cared about him.
Yeah.
That is why you invested into him.
Yeah.
And maybe some guys you love and you care and they don't need it. And it's like not a question that comes up.
Yeah.
But I always look at it, it's like almost like a test.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If a woman is willing to pay for you, then she genuinely looks at you as like a person that really and it sounds bad, but like I look for women that can financially contribute to some degree. Not that I'm a very successful guy. Like I have a lot of income. I do well for myself.
Right.
I'm not the richest person in the world, but I've never had to have a girl in recent years more so pay for anything. I've always taken care of everything. Even if it's a situation where it's like, okay, she's by herself, like, hey, here's some money. Like you take it. Like if I'm there, I'm taking care of it.
Yeah.
But it's a big controversy. Like, should women contribute? And I think that one of the biggest ways to get men interested in you when I coach women in dating is pay for things in the beginning.
Yeah, because obviously like a lot of men aren't used to it. So it probably kind of throws them off a bit, right? And they're like, oh, this girl's different. And I completely agree with that. I think that obviously as a woman, if you're constantly paying for everything, no. But definitely, like, I don't think that the man should constantly be paying for every single dinner.
With the questions that you ask, what are the responses that you get? And I want to hear like the kind of testimonials of the women that like, okay, how much are you making?
Yeah.
What is like their experience?
So I can go off of like my own personal experiences in the past. The guys have always been very like receptive and transparent. Maybe it's because I'm a business oriented woman and like in the past when I've dated other entrepreneurs or met.
I feel like men would lie.
They would lie?
I feel like a lot of men lie.
Yeah.
Like men exaggerate their income.
Yeah. I've never had anything like over the top ever presented to me. And it was always in line with like the sector industry that they were in. But again, I don't have a crazy ton of experiences to go off of. When it comes to the clients that I work with, oftentimes it's women that are already in relationships. And sometimes I've had situations where women are actually carrying debt and they haven't told their male counterparts. Mm-hmm. So then it's like navigating that conversation. I'm like, hey, you have to be open and honest with them about your financial state.
Yeah, I think it's very important. I think a lot of women don't talk about it.
They're ashamed.
I've had a lot of women that I've dated and they're like, yeah, I'm all good. And then they're like something's happening, like their car is getting repossessed or something. I'm like, why didn't you tell me? Like, why are you not telling me?
They're ashamed.
I had a girl come, I was talking to her and she came to one of my events when I used to do a lot of in-person events. Yeah. And she spent like $700 at the event.
Yeah.
She was very like happy to do so. And I didn't realize like she overdrafted her, she basically went crazy with her credit card. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like I really admired her. And that actually made me more interested in her at the time. Right. And it was something that was like very like interesting, but like, a lot of women are not very transparent with it. I think they're very shy. I think they're very scared.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to when it comes to women in dating, when it comes to finances, I think finances are the biggest thing that women revolve their selection upon. Mm-hmm. What do you think is a good number that women should look for when it comes to men making money? Because I think that the mindset that you have, just as much, if not more, is a very dangerous mindset. Because
my mindset?
Yeah. That mindset of, okay, let's say I'm making $1 million a year, right?
Yeah.
I need a man that makes just as much money, if not more. That's the biggest thing telling you, like, it cripples women because you may be making a lot of money that is just, it's harder to meet men like that.
Fair. I would say, like using your $12 million client, that is insane. Like she really is not going to find anyone. Let's be real. If that's the only thing she's basing it off, right? So I usually say like, she's a bit up there, but like generally speaking, most people are like either making less than 6 figures, maybe they're making 100K, 150K. Try to find someone in the same tax bracket as you. Mm-hmm. Like at the end of the day, the reason I share this is because if you're a woman that wants to have children and you get pregnant, well, guess what? If you're making like 3 times more than your male counterpart and now you're pregnant and now you go on maternity leave and you have this kid,
goes to crap.
Your lifestyle is going to flop. So you need a partner that can maintain the same lifestyle as you, whatever that looks like. If you're a very simple person that doesn't like to do much, maybe you then maybe, finding someone that makes significantly less than you, if they check off every other box in your book, sure, that works. But if you're someone that's bougie, you want to travel a lot, you want to continue maintaining your lifestyle when you have kids, you're going to need a partner that can sustain that.
Do you think it's realistic for a woman to have that mindset of like being bougie, traveling? Like we're in Miami. Every girl here, every girl I meet is like, oh yeah, I want a man that can buy me a Birkin and this, that, and third.
For me, I'm like, if I can buy it for myself, I want a partner that can match that. That's for me. A lot of women can't even buy those things for themselves. So I think it's unrealistic to expect a man to do all those things for you if you can't do it for yourself.
You're a different example though. Like you're an anomaly where you do well for yourself. You're involved with money.
That's the feedback I'd give the woman.
Yeah. You just tell her straight up.
No, I'm like, if you can't do those things for yourself, how do you expect another man to do that for you?
No, it's fire. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
I want to ask you another thing. The most dangerous thing for a woman financially, is it the credit card?
The most dangerous thing when it comes to money is not understanding how money works. It's not the credit card. The credit card can be a great tool where you can make a lot of money, or you can spend a lot and get like free flights or whatever the case may be. I believe in credit cards. The most dangerous decision that women can make is not understanding how their money works, turning a blind eye to it, and not investing. Because if you start in your 40s or 50s, you're gonna have to play a bunch of catch up. If you never start, I'm sorry, you're going to be working until like the day you die.
The credit card one is an interesting. Here's my thing with credit cards. Okay, I love credit cards.
Yeah,
I think credit cards are phenomenal. Like, effectively, they're a 5% discount on life.
Yeah,
you use them well.
Yeah,
some credit cards are. I love the Robinhood Gold Card. It's one of my favorite credit cards. They give you 3% back on every single thing.
Nice.
On everything.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of in any other credit card, right? And it also has 5% back on flights and travel.
Right.
Now, Gold is good. The American Express Gold is really good.
Yeah.
You can mix and match them, but I actually tell women to stay away from credit cards. It's weird because the percentage of women that fail with credit cards is so high that I'm like, it may just be better to avoid it. Like,
what's the root cause? They don't have financial discipline.
They don't. But like a lot of, it's not even like, I don't want to like make it like women centered, but like the amount of like, if I can teach a girl, hey, this is how you use your credit card, this, that, and third. It's like I solve one and then there's 9 more that like are failing. A lot of women have credit card debt. And it blows my mind. Like it's actually insane. And men do too. Like it's not like men don't. But men are always like, let me get money in my pocket. Like men are very pressured to it.
Right.
And also men can typically generate more money and knock things out.
Yeah.
Like I've had a lot of guys that have come to me and worked in my companies and stuff like that, and they've been in a bad spot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, 80 hours, 100-hour weeks, let's grind it out. Like, screw your life, screw your girlfriend, don't have anything else, just work.
Yeah.
And in 2 years, they're balling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With girls, it's a lot more difficult.
It is difficult because it's like they're usually stuck earning like X amount of income bi-weekly, and then they're stuck in this vicious loop where they can't pay down their credit cards. They're making their minimum payments, and they stay stuck in that cycle because realistically, if you have credit card debt, one, you either need to spend less or make more or do a combination of both, which women aren't usually willing to do.
It's good that you teach women, but I love credit cards. Like I love credit cards for myself. I use credit cards for everything.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a recipe for disaster for a lot of women because coaching them, like as coaches, like we can only do so much.
Yeah.
If I tell you to like put your hair a certain way, once the camera's off, once we're off the phone, it's like, all right, I don't need to do that. You know what I mean? Let me ask you another thing. This is a huge concept that's coming out now. It's very new. Okay. I don't even know if you heard of it, but a lot of people are encouraging women to have the child first and build their career later. No. Because we were in the mindset before. See, we're in the mindset now, I would say, whereas like build your stability first, then have children.
Yeah.
And so this new mindset is kind of evolving now. And you might see more of it in the next couple of years where it's like, listen, like being able to find a partner. And I agree with certain parts of it. And I'm also like conflicted with certain parts of it because I do think that women should be financially stable before they take on massive responsibility with child. Like, I think it's like I think they should be financially stable before they enter a relationship. But a lot of women are saying like you're going to go to college and spend the youngest years of your life where you're able to find the best quality, the highest quality partners. Okay. Like a woman that's very young is able to negotiate for more, and she's able to get more. Like young girls, obviously we live in Miami, can get literally anything for free.
Right.
If they look a certain way, they know how to talk, and they don't even have to do anything like vulgar, they can just talk their way into it. Yeah. They can get things for free. They can get on multi-million-dollar yachts. They can get dinners paid for. They can get their rent paid for. They can get quality men, high quality men that say, hey, look, I really like you. I want you to be my life. I'm attracted to you, so on and so forth.
Right.
And it's like, use those years to kind of negotiate for what you want in life, stabilize that, maybe not pop out 10 kids, but like That's what you should be doing first. Find your relationship, get married first, the way they used to do it back in the day, and then go to college, because college will always be there. What do you have to say about that?
So I would say that putting an emphasis on maybe taking your love life or finding a serious relationship serious in your early 20s is actually good, because a lot of my best friends, the ones that have been married for a number of years, they met their future partners in college or university. So I think putting an emphasis on that is great, because if I had that conversation and potentially found my person like a decade ago, things would be a lot different now. Yeah. But hard stop on the kids. The reason I say that is because your entire life changes the minute you have kids, especially in this economy, in this generation. Like, yes, you could have a provider man, but once you have that kid and you pop that child out, it is going to be so much more difficult to go back to school, get a degree, start that business. Can you do it? Yes. But I would say no. I would probably not encourage women to have kids right off the bat. I would say, I think it's important, and the advice that I was given, one of the reasons that I'm not married and don't have kids yet, is because there's so many things that I do want to do that I know the minute I have children, my life is going to change, and I'm not going to be able to experience those things in the same way if I had kids.
Here's and I like what you said. I agree with you, actually.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of good statements that they make. So first and foremost, having kids when you're younger is traditionally healthier for women, right?
Okay.
You recover a lot more physically.
Okay.
Like, I know women that have kids in their early 20s and you cannot tell at all. Like, there's girls that push strollers out here and I see them without their kid and I see them with like 3 kids. I'm like, what? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially like those Ukrainian, Russian, like those Balkan girls, like they have kids and they're back to normal, like overnight. It's like crazy to me. But that's one aspect of it. But the other aspect of it is the marriage. I think like more than the kids, it's the marriage that we're focused on. And it's like getting married, find that long-term partner. The other part of this advice is the opposite for men. It is do not date in your 20s. And I actually agree with it a lot, because I think that women are fundamentally a luxury. Having a woman in your life
I agree.
is expensive.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, birthdays, anything like that,
Yeah.
it's going to cost money no matter what way you slice it.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're in a relationship where she's like, hey, I'm just not in a good place right now, I don't have money. You're still expected to do something no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And that is still a financial encumbrance. Sounds bad, but it is what it is. So I recommend it for a lot of my guys. I tell men, throw your dating life away for like a few couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Because if you chase the success and if you chase those traits, money is an output and a consequence of your personality. It really is a result of who you become as a person,
Right.
the discipline and everything like that. So it's two parts of opposite advice. Women, date aggressively when you're young,
Right.
and try to secure a long-term partner.
Yeah.
And I guess it kind of shifts towards like, you date an older man. Like
That's what I was going to say.
yeah,
That's
you
what's
date
going
a
to
guy
happen
that's a
there.
little bit more aged, right?
Yeah.
And then for men, it's like throw your younger years away, build your financial stability, and once you have the expendable income to kind of take on a relationship, you're gonna find it a lot easier.
I agree.
To kind of deal with women. But
Yeah.
the concern and the controversy was more so like the income kind of strategies for women, because like focus on income later, build your love life first. And for men, it was focus on income first,
Yeah.
build your love life later.
I know it doesn't sit right with me. I can't. I think that it's important to focus on love and a relationship, but I think you can simultaneously also focus on the income.
So there's obviously that, like where it's like we can do both.
Yeah.
But it's like how much, and like this is what I struggle with too. When I was building my businesses and doing everything like that, I wasn't necessarily like a bad partner. Like I didn't do anything bad, but I wasn't as involved as other guys.
Right.
Until this day, I am not involved
Right.
in aggressively in my relationships. Like I'm not like, if you're in trouble, I'm not the person that you call.
Okay.
And it sounds weird. You can call 10 guys that work for me.
Yeah.
And they will bring it to me and they will help you.
Yeah.
And that's what I built out. Like if someone needs me, like my mom really needs me, I have assistants that she can call right away to
Right.
get things handed to her, money, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
And if it's an emergency, obviously like 911 death emergency,
Yeah.
I'm there. But a lot of girls like, oh, I want to call my man if something is going wrong. I'm
Right.
like, I'm not me, because
Yeah.
the way I'm building is a little bit different.
Right.
And it can come off as something very bad when it comes to dating. Like it's something that's unattractive.
But I'm sure there's a woman out there where she'd be okay with that.
Well, there were the girls I dated were okay with that.
Yeah.
They loved a guy that prioritized work.
Yeah.
And they liked a guy that was into it for legacy.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of men, that this concept is simple for men, but more so focusing on women. Do you think that a woman that does not have money should date?
A woman that doesn't have money probably shouldn't date, especially if she has incredibly high expectations, going back to the I want a Birkin, I want this, this, and this. But it's like you as a woman bring absolutely nothing to the table by the sounds of it. Like what are you doing to also better that man's life? Like I think that a lot of women in this generation are like, I want a man that can do X, Y, and Z for me. But it's like you also have to be doing something for him. Like relationships are a transaction at the end of the day, right?
Yes.
So you need to bring something to the table.
So and we're going to open it up here. So a lot of girls that are young, they don't have their money built out, right?
Yeah.
The large majority of girls, generally men too, right?
Yeah.
They go out, they party, they drink, they have fun.
Yeah.
Do you think it's like, and I'm not saying like partying and drinking is like bad, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I see a lot of girls here in Miami and they got nothing in their bank accounts.
Yeah.
Literally nothing in their bank accounts.
Yeah.
And I remember in college, I used to know this girl and she'd be like, I'm leaving with $5 and I'm going to come home with $5. And it was always a funny joke to us. Like she would never spend $1 and everything would be taken care of. But I always looked at that as like, that's such a waste.
It is.
You're wasting the youngest years of your life drinking.
Yeah.
Which is, trust me, I love drinking when it's an opportunity to, but at the same time, it's really bad for your skin. It kills you. Everything just destroys it. So I guess if you had advice for those younger girls, look, I'm 21 years old. I want to live my life.
Yeah.
You know, I want to enjoy myself.
Yeah.
And they have the opportunity to. What would you kind of advise them to do? If it was your daughter.
Yeah. No, I would advise these women to build in their 20s. You don't have to build like a man, but you need to invest in yourself because really, and this goes for 30-year-olds as well, what is drinking every other weekend, going out, partying, doing the same thing again and again and again? Where is it getting you? You're spending your money. You might be in debt. You probably are gaining weight. You're out of shape. Like you're not doing anything for yourself. So the best advice that I would give my clients or followers or anyone that's listening to this as a woman is build in your 20s. And that looks different. Like maybe it's building a high income earning skill set. It's investing. Maybe it's traveling. Like I wish I had the opportunity in my 20s, if I wasn't in survival mode, to travel. Because if I had traveled in my early 20s, I think that I would have probably started my business a lot sooner. I would have connected with other like-minded individuals. So I would say take that money and invest it in yourself. And also try to make some money.
You know, I say this thing is like drink responsibly.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not the way that people think. I say drink responsibly where you should only be drinking with people that are growing you.
Yeah.
It sounds really weird.
No. I agree with that.
But it's like, I have a cocktail with some of my insurance partners and they're 60 years old.
Yes.
And they're like, put some hair on your chest. And I'm like, you know what? For you, I'm going to do it because you're killing it. I could learn something for you. Yeah. And alcohol is almost like a social lubricant. You know, that's the way I look at it because it breaks down the
walls that people have. It creates like a space where people are more open, more chatty, vulnerable.
But the benefit of drinking and being around people that are like if you're a young girl and you're out networking and you're on a yacht, you have the opportunity to pick the brain of someone that's built it to a high level. Yeah. I think that's the best thing about it. But I also scold women on this as well because a lot of women don't drink responsibly. They drink to have fun. They go out to have fun. And that is, I think, when it comes back to it, what is the most dangerous thing to women? Women want to have fun.
Yeah.
And I think that's what ruins a lot of women. Yeah. And it sounds like bad because like the opposite of it is to not have fun. But I think that if you're having fun every day, you are doing something that's wrong intrinsically. Yeah. Because your growth comes from struggle. Yeah. And
challenging yourself.
Yeah. And so I think that a lot of women don't challenge themselves enough. Yeah. They don't push themselves enough in income and career. Yeah. Do you have any advice for women that want to make more money in terms of their cash flow? I think that's like the biggest thing that can kind of like offset you because I always, when it comes to finance and business too, it's like, yes, there's people that can make $80,000 a year, let's say. Yeah. And they can, save 40%, 50% of their income and save 40,000, right? Yeah. But they're never going to catch up to the person that makes $300,000 a year and saves 30% of their income, right? Which is substantially larger.
Yeah. I would say, going back to what you were saying earlier, like women need to be they need to be more meticulous with the decisions that they make. And when it comes to generating more income, I've always said, like, I love living in my purpose. 5 years ago, before I started my business, I was at crossroads. I was working within the walls of a bank. I always thought I was going to move up the corporate ladder and that was going to be like the big thing for me. But when I sat down and I like wrote down what my why was and what gave me purpose and what fueled me, that's how I ended up in this position today where I'm like running this very successful business. Like for me, like my goal has always been to draw out of my clients like the absolute best version of themselves. And I do that by helping them get their money right. So what I would recommend is in your early 20s, whenever you can, even if it's in your 30s, sit down and figure out what your why is. Like what fuels you, what lights a fire inside of you. And that's going to look different from person to person. But again, I think that learning how to invest in high income earning skills is very important. Maybe your 9 to 5 just pays your bills, but then you start a side hustle or a business on the side that does fuel your why. And eventually maybe you quit that 9 to 5 and now you make so much money from your business that it covers not only like your bills, but you're generating like that income where you're hitting that 300K and you're able to invest 30% of your income.
I think a lot of women change in their 20s though.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, like, there's so many girls that have come and work for me and they're like 21 years old and they're like, I want to drive a nice car. I want to do this. And the moment that they have kids or they get like a little bit older or they get in a relationship, women just completely 180.
Okay.
And it's something that's very interesting to me. Like a lot of women like tell me, oh, like I love working. I love doing this and all that stuff. But I meet a lot of women that like once they get to 30, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to earn income, obviously. I want to make money, but I want to do it passively.
Yeah. That's kind of me right now, actually.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's very like, I think it's very normal. I think that's a very normal shift.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I try to prep women a lot. Like when I deal with the younger women, I'm like, yo, there's going to be a day where you're not going to have the stamina.
Yeah.
You're not going to have the energy. You're not going to have the mentality. And I know that also happens to men, but we are so socially like pressured and pushed up from it, like grind culture, hustle culture, like it's not even like a thought that occurs. Like obviously there's days where like I want to like, relax a little bit, but at the same time, it's like so like discipline in me. Like I just can't do that.
Right.
I also want to ask you this. What are the biggest money myths?
What are the biggest money myths? So we covered one already, the idea that you need a lump sum to start investing, but realistically you can start with as little to $50 to $100. I would say another myth is that debt is bad. Actually, the wealthy leverage debt to build more wealth. So understanding that there's good debt and there's bad debt. Examples of good debt would, for example, be like a student loan. Oftentimes when I work with women, they're always trying to prioritize paying down their student loans. And I'm like, why? In a lot of cases, you're paying
low interest.
Yeah, low interest or no interest. I'm like, no, like get that out of your mind. And it's crazy because it's funny because people will have vehicle loans, or I think you call them car notes out here. Yeah. And it's like, they don't consider that bad debt because maybe they have something tangible that they're driving. Yeah. Right. So I would say understanding that there's good debt and bad debt and the wealthy leverage debt to build wealth. So understanding that concept as soon as you can is really smart. Some other money myths that exist. So I'm going to actually counter you on this. The myth is that credit cards are bad. Credit cards are not bad. I fly business class, first class for free because I've meticulously built a portfolio of credit cards where I've stacked credit cards based on my spending habits as a consumer. But again, in order to get to that point, you need financial discipline, right? That's when you're going to be smart with how you're managing your money. So those are three.
The way I go about credit cards is kind of like this. Okay, so if you were on a diet plan, the diet plan can't be chicken, broccoli, rice every single day. Yeah. I eat that like chicken, broccoli, rice every day. Yeah. And I love it and I like it, but it's not realistic for people because what happens is they cheat. Yeah. They binge one day and they fall apart. Yeah. And that's my whole thing with credit cards. Like you have a credit card and you're good. And I love credit cards once again. Like I 100%, I use credit cards for everything. Yeah. But one thing where it's like, all right, I'm going to do this. And then you have a bad month. Yeah. And you have an unexpected expense and it kills you. I want to ask you a couple other questions when it comes to myths, because these ones are weird. What do you think of annuities? What do you think of instruments like that? Like insurance policies? Like, what do you think of those?
So with insurance, what I would suggest based on what I've seen in Canada specifically is with insurance, you need to understand like what's the underlying need for it. So I'm big on, for example, my clients having critical illness insurance. One thing that I see is a lot of people have life insurance, which I would argue in your early 20s, if you're going to pick between critical illness or life insurance, your priority should be to protect your income. Because if God forbid tomorrow you wake up with cancer and now you're not able to work for 2 years, plus even in Canada where we have free healthcare, it's not actually free. Yeah. So I always recommend that my clients get critical illness insurance because that protects your income and your ability to survive and maintain your quality of life if the worst case scenario happens. Now, secondary to this, I believe that life insurance is really important, especially if you have dependents. And dependents aren't just kids. You might have aging parents that are relying on you financially. So I always say when you think about an untimely death. Like if you tomorrow were to pass away, would there be anyone that's financially dependent on you who would struggle as a result of your death? Now, to take it a step further, people can invest through insurance plans. But what I have seen is a lot of people getting taken advantage of in certain situations.
It's not an investment.
Yeah, like whole life insurance.
Technically speaking, even as an insurance agent, you cannot legally say that insurance policies are investments.
But how many people do?
A lot of them.
Exactly.
A lot of people, trust me, I'm in the insurance industry, and a lot of people lie.
Yeah.
There's one insurance policy that's more cash heavy. It's called IU, Index Universal Life.
Okay. Yeah.
Where the way that insurance policies are structured is the traditional insurance policy is focused on the death benefit.
Exactly.
Where the majority of money is you die and it's a death benefit where it's not very sexy. It's just you die and you get a lump sum of money.
Exactly.
There's something that's a part of it called cash value, which is your liquid equity in the policy. You pay money and you get this equity.
Right.
IULs give you more equity, but a lower death benefit.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So over the period of time, the one thing that I will say that is kind of a cheat code with insurance policies is it's called the infinite banking concept. And if you do it well, it's ridiculous.
Okay. I've never even heard of that.
It is the most aggressive. It's insane. So Index Universal Life generates cash value. And there's something called front loading it where you can structure the policy in a way where it's more cash value based rather than the death benefit. So it's called minimum face value, like minimum death benefit, and maximize your cash value.
Okay.
So the traditional whole life policy will give you maybe 4 to 5 times more of a death benefit.
Right.
But the IUL grows. And the thing about insurance is, let's say you build the policy up for typically 12 years. That's the good number for it. If you build it up for 12 years, you then have access to your cash value to where it's almost the money that you paid in.
Right.
And so you can borrow that money. You can borrow that money, and as long as you pay back within a year, that money still grows as if the money is still in there. The insurance policy, as long as you pay the premiums, it still grows in the cash value.
Yeah.
And you can still use the money in the real world.
For sure.
So it's very popular with high-level real estate investors.
And that's the thing, like those types of policies make sense for high net worth individuals because we have similar policies in Canada where it's like, it makes sense once you've maxed out all the other tax advantage accounts that exist and you're in a position where it makes sense. Like in addition to this, for example, let's say you're a very wealthy business owner. Those types of policies can also make sense where it's like, hey, when I pass away and my kids are now about to inherit this business, it's going to offset the taxes that they would have to pay. So it's like there's a very small percentage of the population where that product makes sense. But unfortunately, people get duped and they get sold these policies. They're paying an arm and a leg in premiums. Then when the worst case scenario happens, they're like, oh, I have this life insurance policy, but it like pays out like what, a year's worth of expenses, if that.
What do you think about trading?
Trading. So for me, I personally don't day trade only because I've never sat down and actually learned. And it's because I know that for me, I like to take like a more passive approach with my investments.
By the way, I don't recommend day trading for most people.
Yeah.
I actually don't recommend it.
It's volatile, right?
Well, I aggressively don't recommend day trading for the majority of people because my first 3 years of trading, I lost money.
Yeah.
And I didn't have a lot of money back then. Like I remember I lost like $800 in a day. I was like, my life is over. I'm done. I was like really young. And so for me, that was like my entire rent plus more.
Yeah.
So day trading itself, like a lot of people preach it. I think like you're going to see there's so many people that are jumping into the day trade wave, fitness influencers, people that are like not even in trading whatsoever, that have never traded. They're pushing trading. People that are even like 16, 17 are pushing trading and selling. So you know what prop firms are?
No, what's a prop
Okay,
firm?
so prop firms, this is the new thing that's coming out, right?
Okay.
So prop firms are essentially like you paid me $50, $100. I'm a prop firm. And I give you $50,000 in a simulated account. And effectively what you do is you trade on the simulated account. It's fake money, it's paper traded, but you have a series of tests that you have to pass. And if you pass those tests, you get access to real money.
Real capital.
Yes, real capital. And we share a percentage of the gains. So maybe I get 20%, you get 80%. But you need to pass a percent of these tests. And you cannot trade news. And there's certain limitations on certain things that you can trade. So like if a news catalyst comes out where it's like NVIDIA is going to do amazing, you can't necessarily trade that within 2 minutes.
Gotcha.
You know? So there's small things like that. So they look for technical analysis traders. The problem with trading is that trading is so hard and it kind of indirectly creates a pressure for you to take trades.
Right.
And when you're forcing trades, you lose. That is the way most traders. There are days I don't take trades.
Yeah.
And there are days that I obviously do take trades. And there's days I lob up 20 trades.
Yeah.
And there's days I do absolutely like nothing, you know? So it depends on the market and depends if it makes sense. So my big thing with trading is I don't recommend people to trade because the barrier to entry for trading is losing money. A lot of times it is losing money. I recommend following signal groups. Like that's why I push what I do. And I recommend it because I don't teach people how to trade. It takes years. And the biggest thing with trading is it's not the charts, it's not the indicators, it's not the analysis, it's the discipline.
Right.
Human beings are psychologically wired to, the party's good and everyone's having fun and things are that, we're going to stay a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But if there's a fire, we leave. With trading, it's kind of the opposite. When things are going down, it's a buy opportunity for a lot of big stocks, right? There's definitely companies that can really like break down, but if you're buying stocks, like you're really never losing,
right?
Because the things typically go up even with inflation.
Yeah.
If something's doing really well, it's an opportunity for you to take profits.
Yeah.
And to potentially reinvest when there's a better time to come back in.
Yeah.
So companies hit all-time highs, it's the best time to sell, you know?
Yeah.
So I don't recommend trading, but once again, I want to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah, I agree. It's like definitely a skill set. And to be honest, it's not something that I've ever even cared to pick up. But what I would mention is like, yeah, if you don't have the ability to manage your emotions, very similar to even if you're a long-term investor and you see your portfolio starting to dip, and if in your eyes you feel like you're losing money and now you sell off, you've locked in those losses, right? So there needs to be, I know of some day traders, and when they train their students, like teaching them how to build that emotional capacity to make sound decisions when you're under pressure, like that's like a huge component of that.
It's probably the biggest thing. What are your favorite ETFs?
My favorite ETFs, so I'm going to name Canadian ones.
Okay.
And this isn't financial advice, but I really like XEQT. So this is a basket that invests in over 8,000 companies.
You posted this.
Yeah, I always talk about it. So it's a basket that invests in 8,000 companies across Canada, the US, Europe, Australia, and Asia. So I often say like, hey, if you're new to investing and you're just starting out, like that's a really great place to start because it's so well diversified. And then I would say in America, like VU.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, right?
I was literally like wondering what you're going to say. VU's my favorite one.
Yeah, like really low management expense fees. And I think the biggest thing that people fail to realize is those fees can equate to like $500,000 if you're going through a bank and investing in mutual funds.
Okay, so I was going to ask you next, mutual funds. What do you think?
I hate mutual funds.
I don't like mutual funds either.
No, mutual funds are historically how banks have made so much money. Like the biggest banks in America and Canada are some of the largest businesses in the world. And they make so much money off of the average person because of the amount of fees that they're paying. And because the average person lacks financial literacy, they believe that when they walk into their bank, that their bank is taking care of them. But really, they're getting you to answer a series of like 10 questions and they're putting everyone in the exact same fund when it doesn't necessarily make sense. Like a person in their 20s shouldn't be investing in a low risk mutual fund when they have like a 30-year time horizon. So for those of you that are investing in mutual funds, you should take a self-directed approach and learn how to do it yourself.
I think that VU is probably the easiest thing for people to jump into.
It's so easy.
And mutual
I think
funds.
there's QQQ.
Yeah, I mean QQQ is a tech-based one, right?
Yeah,
and then
NASDAQ.
You know, I think that the big thing is they take a massive rake with mutual funds.
Yeah.
It's like not like massive in theory, but it's like 1%. Like it's huge.
Yeah.
It's a massive gain. And people are trained to sell you on this stuff. It's obviously a financial product and you know, that's just what it is. I think that everyone should just put their money into something very simple. Now, obviously what I personally do is aggregation of like the Mag 7 and like big stocks.
Yeah.
That's what I like to do.
Yeah.
And then I buy smaller companies too. But like, how do you manage your investment portfolio?
So for me, I have about 3 ETFs that I love. I have 2 stocks that I've been regularly contributing to. And what I've basically done is I invest on a weekly basis because of the idea and concept of dollar cost averaging, where the more frequently that you invest, you automatically buy at all-time highs and all-time lows. But when you really zoom out over like a 10, 20-year time horizon, it's not going to matter like how much you bought VU for on January 9th. You know what I mean?
What are the 2 stocks?
So BMO is one, and then I've invested in the Amazon stock.
What? Why BMO?
So BMO, I personally invested in it because it's a large, like they are one of the largest banks in Canada, and it pays a steady dividend. So generally speaking, like for example, if let's say the stock market comes down because the economy is just plummeting, like inflation is high dividend paying stocks or companies that have a consistent history of paying dividends, you typically notice that their share price doesn't drop as much because even, for example, if there's economic turmoil, investors will flock to like safe haven investments or safer companies, right? So that's one company that's just, I've tried and true for me. I've just been investing in it.
Why Amazon? I love Jeff.
Yeah. So for me, like one thing that I always look at if I am going to invest in individual stocks is, does that company have competitive advantage? So what is it that they are selling, whether it's a service or a product that differentiates them from the competition? And obviously, like we've seen how Amazon's done, like they're basically like taking over across the industry. So for me, I've just been investing in it for
Why not companies like Nvidia or Microsoft or Apple or Google?
Really good question. So for me, there was a point in my life where I was investing in a lot of individual stocks and I saw a lot of volatility. And for me, I just didn't like the feeling. Like I didn't like the feeling of logging into my portfolio and there's massive ups and downs. So I just decided to take a more passive approach to investing where I liquidated a lot of my portfolio and I put it into ETFs. And then I just stuck to the 2 stocks that I like.
My probably best pick for stock picks for you is Google.
Yeah.
I think
Google's
Google,
a solid one. Yeah.
Google is going to destroy everything else.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, this is my prediction. You can look back at this years later,
Yeah.
but like Google is vertically integrated. They have their own software. They're doing their own AI.
Yeah.
It's going to be, and it's volatile. Like, don't get me wrong. I love the volatility.
Yeah.
That's how I make my money though, with the volatility.
Fair.
Like it's just what it is. But Amazon is really good. I would even recommend if I had a stock that was growing consistently, like a slow burn stock. ETFs are the best one, but I still would say NVIDIA.
NVIDIA was solid, but how do you feel with like AI and like
NVIDIA was my largest, it still is my largest stock that I hold.
Okay.
7% of my portfolio is NVIDIA.
Okay.
And I've held NVIDIA for the past 10 years.
Yeah.
And another one that was really big was Micron Tech.
Okay.
So Micron Tech is trading at $340 right now. I bought Micron Tech 10 years ago at $8.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous gain, right?
Yeah.
But NVIDIA is not as hot anymore. Micron Tech is the new one.
Okay.
That's probably one of the best stocks, I'll tell you.
Okay.
But NVIDIA has outperformed Bitcoin and everything.
Yeah.
It's literally insane. With AI, NVIDIA owns 90% of the AI market.
Yeah.
It's,
Do you feel like AI is a bubble?
no, to some degree I don't.
Okay.
Because here's the thing. Okay, so when we're yes, but also no.
Yeah.
Stocks are sentiment based.
Yeah.
You know, so if people feel like something is going to be good or bad, it theoretically affects the stock market, which affects our financials, right?
Right.
Whether that's true or not, it's still a thing. NVIDIA, and this AI tech bubble, I don't think AI is going to be that useful for the average person. I don't think it's really going to change the life of a farmer
Right.
and like the barista. But I do think that it's going to genuinely impact a way that large companies operate.
Yeah.
And I think that large corporations are definitely going to dominate with AI.
Right.
Even I have replaced people with AI, which is really like sad, you know, but it saves me so much money.
So much,
It's like
yeah.
insane. All the meticulous work, like those, a lot of jobs that I would recommend for women, like do data entry, do secretary work, do admin
Right.
work. AI is beating them.
Yeah.
And it's actually like heartbreaking, you know, in a way. And the skills that are now powerful are sales, personality, showing up in person. There's certain things that you can't physically replace and have in a person. Like you work at a nice restaurant, you can't necessarily replace the server.
Exactly.
But AI is so big with large companies and with data, and NVIDIA is really leading the way. NVIDIA owns pretty much everything.
Yeah.
Google's the only relative competitor I see out there. And they're competing in terms of the actual AI platform of like ChatGPT.
Right.
I think Gemini is phenomenal. But
Yeah.
like
I've actually used Gemini. I prefer it over ChatGPT.
I do too.
Yeah.
And their photo generation, their
Yeah.
image,
That's insane.
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy.
Yeah.
So I love Google, but I trade those stocks every single day. I trade NVIDIA, I trade Google, I trade Amazon.
That's a good take. Yeah.
I have calls in Amazon right now. I think
Yeah.
Amazon's going to go up.
Yeah.
And Amazon's really good for one reason mainly, because they started their own delivery service.
Right.
And Amazon Web Services is their biggest money driver in Amazon. I don't know. I use Amazon every day. It's a dominant thing now.
Yeah.
But I do think that like, I don't know if there's going to be any big competitors, but I don't think the growth is going to be as aggressive. But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for slow.
Yeah. Long term.
And I think it's good.
It's safer for me. Yeah. That was actually like a really great take.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. What are some, to finish off here,
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you, what are your regrets that you have in life?
The
If you had
only
to pick them.
I have this has nothing to do with money, actually. The only regret that I have in life is I used to be really close to my mom's dad, so my nana, my grandpa. And before I moved out, like I ended up homeless, he ended up having dementia or Alzheimer's. And basically I went years because I held a grudge against my family. I didn't talk to them for years because when I was on my own, like I mentioned, no one was helping me. Eventually, when I reconnected with my family again, like 4 years later, my grandpa's Alzheimer's had gone really bad to the point where he forgot who I was. And he was like the only man in my life that was like a strong male figure because I didn't have a dad growing up. So the only regret that I have to this day, and I'm about to turn 32, is just, I guess, having that grudge and being so stubborn, because I feel like one thing that you can never get back in life is time, right? Whether it's time with your loved ones, time that you spend on yourself. So I would say, if I could give any advice, like when it comes to the people that you love in your life, just, you know, if you're holding a grudge against someone, if there's an argument, like just let your walls come down. talk it out, figure it out, because once you lose someone or you lose that time with that person, that's something you can never get back.
What's one piece of advice that you have for everybody to close off?
One piece of advice that I would give everyone. Well, it's the new year, so something that I would recommend doing is I feel like 2025 was a very tumultuous year for a lot of people, myself included. Now that we're starting a brand new year, actually sit down and create like a list of things that you want to get done this year. And it doesn't only have to be financially. It could be like, hey, I want to make sure that I actually travel this summer because it's something that I've been putting off. I'm going to start eating healthy. I'm going to start going on dating apps and putting myself out there because I want to find my person. And I would say revisit that list regularly, because I think the power of like manifestation, like actually writing down your goals, there's a neuroscience behind it, because there's something called your reticular activating system. And it's the idea that when you write down your goals and you write them down and you visualize it, your brain will automatically seek opportunities where if, for example, you want to generate like $300,000 this year and you write it down, your brain is naturally going to filter out events or people that are going to help you get to that goal. So write down your goals. It's the beginning of the year, and work towards them and revisit them regularly.
I appreciate you for taking time out here today.
Yeah,
guys,
thanks for having
Team
me.
Basani, Gina Judge, how can they find you? How can I get a hold of you the quickest?
You can find me on Instagram at I am Gina Judge, and you can also visit my website, which is www.themmg.ca.
Cool. Appreciate you. Great
Thanks,
episode.
guys.
Check us out. Comment down below. Subscribe if you liked us. We'll be back soon. Peace.